To go ahead and kick us off, we've got John Hinds here. He's worked with responsive learning for quite a while, has done a lot of consulting on developing our school leadership academy. He does mentoring, he leads small group discussions, so much aside from the consulting work that he does with Jail Hinds Consulting. So, John, go ahead, take it away. You're our systems guru. Let's talk campus systems today.
All right, good morning. Good morning. Let me put up my screen here. And so, systems-based thinking, that's my thing. That's my love, my joy. It's really my saving grace on getting me through the principalship. If you're like me, my first 3 years, it was just hanging on with both hands, right? Just trying to make it through. And then you finally realize what's coming around the corner, what to sort of look out for, but you don't have systems in place. You're just really redoing what was done before you landed on that campus
Mm,
and just hoping for the best. But as I became more and more experienced and had better mentors or found mentors that taught me things, I started learning systems based thinking. Then I got to my second school, I had a bunch of tech people at it at that school for parents, and then they who were certified in Six Sigma. And so then they started teaching me the Six Sigma that's really uh, corporate based and
hmm
how I can fit that into the school based systems. And so system based thinking became my thing to do. And then I would go to my last school, and if it were not for systems based thinking, I could not have turned that school around like we did as a whole team and a faculty, but I had to teach them systems based thinking. So let me get to systems based thinking. All right. First, I think confident and
Mm,
proactive leaders make better decisions, and we need campus leaders to make really good decisions. But
mhm.
if they're not confident or they're in a reactive mode, they're
Yeah.
not making those decisions. They're hanging out going, okay, I won't make a decision and I can't get blamed for it. Or I don't know
Yeah.
where I should go or how I should handle this. In my district, we had a crisis response booklet. So if anything happened, we knew exactly what to
Mm,
do. So I was confident that I knew what to do. I was confident that if I taught my staff or my leadership team what to do, it would get done. So I could walk with confidence. And it was always proactive. So this is a key topic to me. And then if you're a reader or if you're not a reader, James Clear wrote Atomic Habits, and his great quote is you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And once you learn systems, this is you get it tattooed on your chest or your arm or something. It's like, okay, now I get it. I'm going to create systems and I'm going to have great goals, but I'm going to work really hard on my systems to attain those goals. Now, I call them systems. Some people call them routines. Some people call them processes. Some people call them other things or protocols. And I'm going to get into all four of these in a minute. Systems is the word that resonates with me. There's going to be some things where it's like, no, we have routines. We have routines. Understood. You call it what resonates with you. I call them systems. You can interchange all four of them. That's fine. For me, what I learned is my teachers understood things better when I stayed with the same word. Okay. So we'll get there in just 1 second. All right. Now, like I said, the first 3 years of the job, this is how it feels. You're spinning all these plates hoping things don't crash. So what system does is helps you get to this because you're always going to be spinning plates, but it's better spinning this many plates than the previous
mm.
plates. So it's how do you get from this to this? My opinion, systems. So what exactly is systems-based thinking? It's when you automate things so you don't have to spend much time thinking about it, and it's not just dependent on one person. That's part of it. So if you get sick, it's not dependent on you. If
Mm-hmm.
you want to go have an anniversary or take care of your parents, it's not dependent on you, John Hinds, or you, the principal. It's because you've taught these systems to your staff. They know what's going on. They can just run with it when you're out of pocket. And I tell people all the time, teachers, when they'll text me and say, "Hey, my daughter's sick. I need to stay home." It's like, enjoy being a parent to a sick child, because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get that advice. And so when my kids were sick, it's like, okay, all right, it's time to eat, take a nap. I got to get back on the computer. And I didn't enjoy being that parent I wished I would have been. And so when you create systems, you can go be with a sick child or a sick parent, or with me, a sick neighbor, and just enjoy life doing that and serving people. And I tell people, think 90-10. If you can systemize 90% of the job, which you can, and I that's when I left the profession, that's what it was. When you can systemize 90%, then you have all this mental energy and capacity to deal with the 10% you're going to have to react to. Because going, there are going to be things that you're going to
Mm-hmm.
have to react to that you didn't plan on, that you don't have in a routine. But if you can think 90-10, then it's like, okay, 90-10% of this day when I pull up in this parking lot, 90% of my day is automated because I've already systemized things. I know what's going to happen. As a brand new principal, you're probably on the other side of 10 and 90, where you've got 10% planned out and in routine, and 90% is chaos or just reaction. And
Mm-hmm.
again, when you're in reactive mode, you can't make great decisions, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So one of my mentors taught me this is, if you create systems and manage systems, you don't have to micromanage your people. And personally, I don't like to be micromanaged. Tell me where point A is and how fast you need to get there, and I got it. I don't need you to micromanage. And I think most of our teachers are in this boat. They
Mm-hmm.
don't want to be micromanaged.
Yeah.
They want to have some decision making. Now, they're already told what curriculum they have to do and how many minutes and all of that stuff. So, as much freedom as you can give them, I think, in my experience, teachers appreciated it.
Mm-hmm.
So, Michael Goodman, he explains. Uh, I like this in his book of when should you use systems thinking. Okay, so when the issue's important, okay, we're creating a system around important issues, and I've got a slide for that in a second. The problem's chronic. It's not just a one-time event. It's not just a carnival. It's something that happens all the time, or unfortunately more times than we want to.
Mm-hmm.
The problem's familiar and it has a known history. And then people have unsuccessfully tried to solve the problem before.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get into each one of these. But that's like, okay, once you learn this as a principal, now you can then teach it to your leadership team.
Mm-hmm.
Once your leadership team has it, then you can teach it to your team leaders or your department heads. And so you have multiple people thinking the same way about problems that we want to solve, or goals we want to reach, or so forth. Hang on. Okay, so look at this chart for a second. I'll give you a second to look at all of them. Okay, so number one, these are all systems, in my opinion. I wanted you to look at the orange boxes, because this is what we typically say. We say we have an active shooter protocol. It's a system, but we call it a protocol. It, It doesn't change it because we call it a system or a protocol, because it's what we're going to do in an active shooter situation, correct? So
Hmm.
that's how you can interchange those words. Top right, the discipline management process. That's how we always wrote it out on the document, right? That we have to submit to central office. It's a process, but it's also a system, and I'll demonstrate that in a minute. Arrival and dismissal routine is when we explain that to parents. That's what we call it. Arrival dismissal routine. We don't call it arrival dismissal system. We could, but that's how we do it. And then cafeteria procedures. I think in systems, and I'm going to walk through these in just a second so that you can understand how I think about it. You can call them whatever you want. I call them systems. But my top two are master calendar and then
Hmm.
the meeting schedule. So top left, bottom right, those are the top two systems. I've created content on it. Highly recommend you go watch it if you haven't seen that yet. Okay, now I know this is a little bit fuzzy, but I like this. I like this picture. Okay, each system's perfectly designed to give you exactly what you're getting right now.
Hmm.
And man, I can't tell you how many principals I've worked with that if they could understand this, it's like, okay, so if we've got a system in place, I just need to work on the system and it'll fix it. It's not this overwhelming problem that we just can't fix. We can
Hmm.
fix anything. We just need to work on it or look at it differently. So here is an example of just data. So the first bar, 2015, 2016, was individual daily or individual suspensions at the school that I went to. This was before
Yeah.
me. A system was in place to get that result. They didn't like it. They didn't know how to fix it, and it was causing a lot of problems. So 2016, 2017 is when I landed on the campus. It took me a year to figure it out. And then you see the next 2 years was a system that created different results.
Hmm.
So each year there was a system in place. I just fine tuned it with my team, putting it together, looking at different things, wanting different results, and those are the results we got. So going back to this, each system is perfectly designed to get you exactly what you're getting. 2015, 2016, that system got exactly what it was designed to do. And it was really designed to suspend kids. So here's just an example of what I'm talking about. So here's how it went. The old behavior management, the old system
Hmm.
or process or procedure, however you want to call it. So look at the start. So a child becomes upset in a classroom, which they do. I mean, every school, kids come in with
Hmm.
themes. At the old system was the teacher pushes the button and says, I need an administrator in my room because John is throwing chairs.
Hmm.
They would say it out loud. All the kids knew it. Well, the kids knew they were an administrator's coming. So what do I have to lose? I'm going to throw another chair. I'm going to do this. So they
Hmm.
go to level 10, and here we go. Administrator comes, and we take that child out, but the instructional trauma has already happened.
Hmm.
All the kids are scared. They're traumatized in some way. Some, that's just normal behavior, no big deal. Some, they've never seen that stuff before because they don't do it at their home.
Hmm.
And so you've got three other kids who are now emotional and they're ready to blow. Well, then they blow, and here we go. And it's just a vicious cycle. That's a system.
Hmm.
Well, what we did is we changed it to this system where student becomes upset, which they do. We know that's going to happen. Teacher determines if it's emotional or social issue, because it usually is. And what
Hmm.
they would do is they would discreetly send a note, send a text, send an IM, something to a counselor or communities in school
Mm.
personnel who would then
Mhm.
come de-escalate the situation because let's face it, they've got 2 degrees in this. I know how to deal with kids, but I don't have 2 degrees in social
Mhm.
emotional learning, right?
Mhm.
So you get the right personnel to come in to deal with the right or with the issue that's going on. Child de-escalates, no instructional trauma, instructional continues. Instruction
Mhm.
continues. So it's looking at it from, oh, sorry, this system to this system.
Mhm.
It's an issue that's reoccurring. It's important. We don't want it to be dependent on one person, aka the principal. Make sense? All right. Here's another example. If I push the right buttons, give you a great example. All right, let's go to the cafeteria. Cafeteria procedures, right? I call them systems. So teacher brings in the class and then wipes their hands. I've got my 30-minute lunch. Kids are talking
Mhm.
and all this, going through the line, getting their lunch, uh, having a great old time, right? The teaching assistants who are in there are just trying to take care of chaos because you've got 200, 300 kids in there.
Mhm.
They look at the clock. They're constantly looking at the clock, trying to figure out when that teacher needs to come back. Doesn't matter if the teacher's back or not. They line them up. They go. Kids go over to the wall. They're beating on each other. The teacher
Yep.
comes and says, "All right, let's go." Kids are at level 7 or 8, getting in trouble. It's just not good. And what happens? Well, hang on. That you need a lot of supervision. Students. Hang on. Let me get this. The students leave at level 7 or 8. And I want them at level 1. I want them
Mhm.
ready to get back into learning mode.
Mhm.
It's complete chaos and it's just failure. We set kids up for failure and I don't want that in anything we do on my campus. So here's the new system. The teacher brings in the kids, supervises them through the cafeteria line, make sure they say thank you, make sure they get all the food they need on their tray, sits them down at the cafeteria or at the table, sets out the expectations because let's face it, the teacher has more authority over them than we do,
Mhm.
or more influence, let's say. And so the kids typically want to please their teacher. Teacher says, okay, I want y'all to have a great lunch, talk to your neighbor only, no yelling. If I get a great report, we're going to have extra recess. Okay, now that's power. Principal, teaching assistant, we don't have power like that. Teacher does. So then the teacher leaves, has her 30 minutes. She knows that there's going to be a teacher behind her in 3 minutes to sit at the exact same table. So she's got to be back. They always do. So now the teaching assistants are just supervising. They're not trying to control chaos. And then the teacher comes after 30 minutes, make sure the kids clean up the table, clean up the floor. Custodians love that. They dismiss them in an orderly fashion, watching their kids at all times, and they know those wild horses that are going to play around, so they're going to walk them individually, and then they're going to leave the cafeteria at level 0 or 1. So
Mhm.
it's a whole different system that sets the kids up for success. Just 2 examples of how you look at a problem and change the system so you get a better result. So we don't need as many teaching assistants in the cafeteria because they're just monitoring. They're not controlling chaos. You don't even need to look at a clock. The teachers, 99% of the time, are going to be responsible and get back. And then kids are set up for success. All right. So in thinking about this, principals would look at, okay, so what problem that do you need solved? What's like number one priority? Who's the current problem dependent on?
Mhm.
Has this current problem been dealt with in the past? How has it? And or even has it? Is
Hmm.
it just part of the culture and this is just the way we do it? No one really thinks about changing it. And then how can you automate at least part of the problem? So those are just key things to think about. But in the end, it's if you believe this, you're going to fall to the level of your systems, then you're going to start jacking up your systems and improving them a little by little. And maybe this month you're going to attack one thing, and next month you're going to attack another. You know, like discipline, it took me a whole year to figure that out.
Mm.
So, but once I start, if I would have said, hey, let's set this goal that we're going to minimize suspensions, it's a great goal,
Hmm.
but I had to fix the system to
Hmm.
reach the goal.
Hmm.
And then thinking 90-10. That's if you can get that in your mind as something to strive for, not only for you, but also for your staff and your teachers in their classroom. And when we do have to be off campus or we have to or we want to be home with our loved ones, then we can do it knowing the place is
Hmm.
not falling apart because we've got
Hmm.
systems in place.
Hmm.
So that's my information, and that is my presentation on systems.
Oh, John, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you guys would like more, if you're, listening to this and you feel like, okay, that scratches the surface, but I need more. John has several courses in our library that he really dives deep into the how to of a lot of what he's talking about. Um, we also have a new course of the month that we are offering for free out of our leadership library. Or if you need CPEs and you want that extra step, it's half off. We're offering a 50% discount on all of our courses of the month. So that's really excited. You are welcome to reach out to us, email us. The link will be provided in the description of this webinar video at the end of it. Well, John, thank you so much for this. I'm
You're
I'm
welcome.
just always grateful for all of the input that you have. It's just fantastic. Thank you so much, and thank you all for
Sure.
being here.